Hello and welcome to your second week of your junior year. I am here to walk you through what you missed in English class or what you're watching again if you wanted to see it again. So here our Schoology page has everything listed. I'm always going to start here so you can see where I'm finding things. Your agenda is always going to be on this slide, and then it will be written in even more detail right here in this document. And then of course we've got the folder filled with all of the things you would need for class. So let's use this slide to get to what we need. Today was really about short stories. So we started by discussing The Man to Send Rain Clouds, that story from last week. And then we moved through some discussion and setting up the next story, which is called What You Pawn, I Will Redeem by Sherman Alexie. We're going to read that all week. So those two are the cornerstone of today, and then Alexie will carry us through the end of the week. So we discussed this story, The Man to Send Rain Clouds by Leslie Marmonsilko, who is a Puebla Laguna Indian from that southwest region we looked at last class. And this is a little story. I like it because it connects to some of those concepts we were looking at with the Navajo origin myth, origin story. There's a lot of use of yellow and the yellow world in this story. And it's really about the way that two theologies match and clash with one another. So as a group, we reoriented ourselves in time and space to talk about the story. And then we moved into these discussion groups. So all of what I just skipped is from last week. Our group discussion had 4 topics to ground it, and students got to pick which one they wanted to discuss. So if you were not in class, you can still do this, and in fact, you must still do this, but you'll use the discussion board feature on Schoology where your classmates used a Google document and we just talked instead. The topics were the yellow world, the way that people felt towards Teofilo and death in the story, the symbols of water and sheep, and then the cultural clashes and similarities. So again, classmates got to pick by clicking on this document. And while they shared their thoughts, I took notes on what they found. But if you weren't in class and you didn't get to contribute to that discussion, then you need to do so on the discussion board. And to get there, go to Schoology, go down to Native America, and then you're going to find day 4. And right here, discussing The Man to Send Rain Clouds is a discussion board set up for you to offer your thoughts. So if you missed class, add a paragraph about one of these topics using the comment feature right here. And feel free to go back to this document where your classmates did have thoughts, and you can use that to springboard into your own thoughts. So the benefit of being in class is just that you didn't have to write all this stuff down. I took notes as people shared what they were thinking. And though I understand why people must miss class, when you do miss class, I have to have some record of that thinking. I believe in discussion, and not because you have to be great at talking in front of people. I don't really consider myself an extrovert, but I know that in conversations with people, I really deepen my own thinking, and sometimes I clarify my thinking to myself. So in the absence of discussion, the next best thing is writing or written discussion, where you can clarify what you believe just by writing it down and then by looking at some other comments along the way. So for that reason, it will be a really important part of our class as we look at literature, poetry, art, to help you figure out what is the depth of what it is that I have an inkling about right now. How do I articulate the beginnings of this depth? That's what discussion is for. So that was the first part of class, and it was the majority of class. From there, we really move into the work. We need to learn about the Spokane Indians and their region before you begin reading Sherman Alexie. So I'll take you through some slides on that now. All right, so we've been in the Southwest, we've been in the Puebla region and the Navajo region. We're going to move up to it's not really up, but we're going to move north to the northwest, and we're going to look at the Spokane Indian tribe, which is the setting for our story. It's set in Washington State, current Washington State. The Spokane tribe, you can see here, has its ancestral homeland towards the eastern part of the state. It's important to remember the state lines are artificial. They weren't there when the Spokane Indians were developing their culture. This was all Washington territory. There's another view of all of it now. Washington territory is one of the last regions in the United States to be incorporated as states, and it really encompasses a huge part of our country. All of this was Washington territory versus this in the middle, which was Louisiana territory, and then down here in the southwest, which was Spanish territory. So Washington becomes a state much later than all of these other areas are settled. And the Spokane Indians and the early settlers had a pretty decent relationship, but that was partly because so many Indians were not even there by the time settlers arrived, because they were wiped out and killed by the diseases that came across the country. In general, the diseases always beat the explorers and settlers. So by the time settlers got to regions that were inhabited by Indians, they would often find essentially ghost towns. And that is largely what happened with the Spokane Indians. And we will talk more about the conflict between settlers and Indians as these units go on. For now, we're staying really focused on art and the artistic contributions of tribes like the Spokane, like Sherman Alexie, who's a prominent writer still, a prominent Spokane Indian writer. We're going to divide up the story in this way. It's about 30 pages. And Monday, today, I'd like you to read the first third. Tuesday, tomorrow, I want you to read the middle third. And then Wednesday, you'll read the final third. It's, like I said, 30 pages, but they go quickly. It's written in a dialogue-heavy fashion, and it tends to be a pretty snappy read. I'd like you to stop on this first day when you get to 4 p.m. in the story. It's organized by time, and so you'll get through the 3 a.m. entry and stop at 4. Your stem for this evening's work or this afternoon's work is, he wonders whether he can bring his grandmother back to life. Because so, but. Write 3 sentences with that stem beginning each one. So just to be really clear, in your entry for Monday, it's going to say, he wonders whether he can bring his grandmother back to life because he wonders whether he can bring his grandmother back to life. So he wonders whether he can bring his grandmother back to life, but. And that's it. And your entry is to complete those 3 individual sentences. It might seem a little bit redundant right now. I promise it will grow in complexity, and it'll already challenge you to think about the way that this works on you as a reader. And if you want to just jump ahead and do the week's work, this is everything you're going to need to know to carry you through the entire week. We might have some in-class work, but the async work is all right here in front of you. And the last thing is to not forget about the Illuminate assessment, which is online. You'll click on that assignment towards the right. I think it looks like little rulers, and it's called Corn Mother. And it should be fixed. I tried to fix it over the weekend, so if you tried, try again. And that is due by Friday. All right, that's all I've got today. I look forward to seeing you all soon.